My ex-wife, 37, and I, 37 male, were together for almost 6 years and had 2 daughters, kindergarten and 2 years older. She filed for divorce because she wasn't happy with me anymore, and we have now been divorced for almost 2 years. It was very difficult for me, especially not being able to see my daughters all the time. Still, we were able to arrange a 50-50 split custody agreement. I also paid court-ordered child support since I earned significantly more than her. But looking back, I realized that divorce was the right decision, and the divorces motivated me to pursue my career more and focus on my physical health. It has definitely paid off. I'm in the most comfortable position financially that I've ever been in, and I have been in the best shape of my life. So I guess in a way, the divorce was a start for me to reach my full potential. My ex-wife and I have a good co-parenting relationship, but nothing more. I've been doing great. So the last thing I want is to have my ex entangled in my life more than she already is. So I only communicate with her about the kids and shut down any attempt of her trying to involve herself in my life that doesn't involve our kids. My ex recently called me and told me that she hasn't been doing great financially and has completely burned through her savings to pay rent and bills on her own. She had to sell her car a few months ago. She said that she's been using public transportation to get to work and pick the kids up from school, which she says completely stresses her out because it's an almost 1-hour bus ride to her work, making her late a lot and having no time to properly do anything besides work and picking up and taking care of the kids when she has the kids. I currently own 2 cars, one that I use daily to go to work and run errands. I bought a more expensive car about a year ago, and I pretty much only use it when I go out on weekends or go on dates. Knowing that I have 2 cars, my ex asked me if she could use one of my cars to help her out so that she could have a life besides work and kids. I told her that her being able to have a life besides the kids has nothing to do with me, and it's not my responsibility. I told her that the kids are my only responsibility and that anything else in her life is her problem since I'm not her husband anymore. She told me I'm insensitive and that being terrible doesn't lead to anything. I just told her that the financial security I provide isn't something she has the right to anymore and that she has to deal with her own problems now. Am I the idiot? Edit. Everything our kids need is within walking distance of my ex's place. It's her job that requires her to take these hour-long bus rides. Not the idiot. She didn't say she needed the car to improve the kids' lives. She wants it so she can have a life besides working kids. How does she plan to afford this? Any rebalancing of the finances should be handled formally in revising child support, not in lending her a car she could damage and destroy. You don't owe your ex use of your car. Your ex is responsible for her life and her choices. Your financial responsibility is to your children, not to your ex. Disagree. You are the idiot. Sometimes it's not about being an idiot or not, but the values you want to teach your children. It's not your legal responsibility to lend her a car or let her use a junker you buy and lend. And the overall context of your relationship with her is highly relevant. Is she a bad mom? Is she misspending child support? Will the kids miss out on events without a car? Will she take it as a green light to make more demands? But depending on your values and the values you want to instill in your children, helping their mother, whom they love, when you didn't really have to, would be an amazing life lesson and make you an even bigger hero in their eyes. That's what I'm thinking here. Her having a car or not directly influences their quality of life. My father still helps out my mom with logistical stuff a decade after the divorce, just like she'll host family parties and invite him. They still help each other out and are happily divorced. That's where I had hoped to be with my ex until he closed my credit cards when I lay in hospice. Highly illegal, of course. Many people don't realize the liability of letting someone use their vehicle, not to mention car accidents, lawsuits, tolls, moving violations, wear and tear, insurance, and maintenance. She's burned through her savings and sold her car. Something's going on here that he needs to get to the bottom of for his kid's sake, but buying her a car or lending his? Absolutely not. So my wife and I recently went on a trip together, paid for by her dad. He flew us to Hawaii with first-class seats. We had a great time. My wife is used to traveling. I'm less experienced with plane travel. This was the first time I flew first class. On our way back home, we sat near the back, by the border, between us and the undesirables. A mother and her baby were among the first to board, and the poor baby was not having a good time. I felt even worse for the mother, as I know she's probably equally distressed about the baby crying. While I felt sympathy, my wife was mad. She kept commenting about how our flight would be miserable at best. Her complaining went on for the longest time. She kept saying that the mother was irresponsible, and that if she didn't know how to calm her baby, she shouldn't be taking it on a plane. I tried to tell her to calm down as it wasn't that serious, but she didn't have it. Eventually, I got tired of that, so I offered to go speak to the mom for my wife. She said she'd be happy if I did. I went back between the boarding groups and told the mother that if she wanted, I would give her my first-class seat so she could kick her feet up, which may be more comfortable for her and the baby. She didn't want to initially, but I insisted, and her husband encouraged her to take it. So she took her baby up to first class, and I got a series of angry texts from my wife. So I felt like this was not a huge deal, as my wife brought noise-canceling headphones, and the other people in first class most likely do as well. And if they don't, they have normal headphones that can block out the baby noise. We're not living in the Stone Age. The baby cried for maybe a cumulative 30 minutes on an 8-hour flight, so barely at all. When my wife and I met up, she was livid. She told me that I ruined her flight and ruined the end of her trip for her. I told her that she was overreacting to something that was only mildly annoying. She's refused to drop this. Am I the idiot? LOL, what the heck? Yes, your wife should have toned it down. But who do you think you are to teach her a lesson? You're her husband, not her parent, who's meant to discipline and teach her morals. Why couldn't this have been solved with a simple conversation? What are you, 15? Everyone's the idiot here, but more so you, because your wife wasn't really doing anything to the woman and her baby. I would have been on your side if your wife went to say something to them or make them uncomfortable. You did entirely too much. I disagree. OP's not the idiot. You just made sure the two whining babies sat next to each other to minimize the disturbance. And I say this as a child-free person. I don't understand the obsessive hatred people have for crying babies on planes. You should go into a flight prepared, knowing that there will probably be babies, snoring people, smelly people, people who accidentally touch you, and other little annoyances. What's more annoying than a crying baby is the grown adult complaining nonstop about the crying baby, which is what it sounds like your wife was doing. You can't control other people, only how you respond to them. Why isn't a woman allowed to complain to a husband about a crying baby? Why does that make her the idiot? She didn't confront the woman, make loud comments so the woman could hear, and she didn't make a scene. She had a whinge moan to her spouse. You are the idiot. Instead, you decided to punish your wife. You were on a free trip, paid for by her father, and you decided you needed to be a petty idiot. I wouldn't invite you on the next trip. I, a male teen, lost my dad 2 months ago. He had terminal cancer and passed away right when the doctors predicted. Surrounded by friends and family, but it still hurts. He raised me all on his own after my mom walked out of our lives. He was my rock, my best friend, and now he's gone. After he passed, I was taken in by my Aunt Shelby and my Uncle Alan. They have 2 daughters, my cousins Leah, teen, and Macy, tween. Ever since I moved in with them, they pretty much left me to my own devices. That is, until last Saturday evening. Then Alan came to talk to me and asked if I had anything nice to wear for tomorrow. I asked what he meant, and he told me that it was about time I started acting like part of their family and that I'd attend church with them the next day. In my head, I heard a record scratch. I'm not religious, and church makes me very uncomfortable. I've been before. I tried to talk my way around the issue, But eventually I just came out and said, I'd be happy to start spending more time with you guys, but I'm not religious, and I'm not comfortable going to church. Alan got quiet for a moment before awkwardly telling me that he'd have to talk to Shelby about it and leaving me in my room. The next morning came and went, and I slept right through them getting up and leaving for church. I was up by the time they came back, and Shelby told me how disappointed she was in me for not accepting them as my new family. I didn't know what to say, so I went to my room without saying anything. So apparently my cousins have this after-school church thing they do on Wednesdays, and this morning Leah asked Shelby if she could skip it because I got to skip church. Shelby said no, and they got into a big fight, and now everyone's mad at me for causing this whole thing. I don't want to be a burden or cause any trouble, and I'm grateful for them taking me in. Am I the idiot for not just sucking it up and going to church? Not the idiot at all. Religion isn't a bad thing, but neither is not believing in it. You, just like them, are entitled to your beliefs, and it doesn't make you any less of a family member not to partake. Stand your ground. You aren't doing anything wrong. I hope you're doing all right, friend. I don't like the "we're your new family" comments. They've always been your aunt and uncle. Just because they took you in doesn't mean they automatically become the new mom and dad. They cannot and should not be forcing their religion on you. Stand your ground. You're not causing the rift. They are. Ask them if religious freedom only applies to adults in your country. Honestly, they'd probably say yes with a straight face. OP, at your age, they kind of know that they can't force it on you, which is why he went quiet and they tried to guilt you instead of grounding you. Apparently, their other child doesn't want to go to church either, but didn't realize that was an option not to. Sometimes seeing someone else do it gives you the courage to stand up for yourself. You didn't do this intentionally. It's just a natural progression. Anyway, the parents are just going to alienate everyone if they keep pushing this issue. It isn't your fault. This same fight would have happened anyway after the kid moved out and the parents found out they stopped going to church. I, 34 female, have a young teen stepdaughter. I first met her when she was a couple of years younger. We got along very well from the moment that we met, and I love her just as much as I love my own daughter, toddler. Even though her school provides lunch, the food is terrible, so I pack her lunch every day. It also helps us bond, as she sometimes helps me cook for her lunch, and we like to make and try new foods. She spends 1 week with my husband, 41, and me, and 1 week with her mom, 40. And recently, she's been complaining that her mom forces her to eat the school's lunch. I tried talking to her mom, told her how much she hates the school lunch, and suggested she should do what we do. She suddenly got mad and started to angrily tell me that I have no idea how hard it is to be a single mom of 3 kids, and that unlike me, who's a gold digger who doesn't even work, she doesn't have extra time to spend on making lunch. I got mad and told her that even though I have a toddler, I managed to be a good mom to my stepdaughter, so she needs to stop making excuses for being a crappy mom. She called me an idiot and many other names and ended the call. Edit. I wasn't the affair partner. They had been divorced for a year when I met my husband. I never say anything bad about her to my stepdaughter. Her other 2 sons aren't my husband's. They're older and more independent. It's not my fault. She's decided to be a crappy mom and drive her child away. She can't even spend an hour a day or even an hour a week with my stepdaughter. Of course my stepdaughter doesn't feel loved by her. Of course she'd rather be somewhere where everyone loves her and spends time with her. Nobody's asking her to pack lunch every day, but is it so hard to do it once a month just to make her child happy? This poor woman that everyone is defending allows her kids to bully my child. Yes, my child, because I love her and she calls me mom. However, I don't think my bringing food for her will solve anything because all she wants to do is spend time with her mom as she does with me. This woman hardly ever spends any time with her. She even missed all of her basketball games, while she's never missed a single one of her son's games. She always finds time to spend with her sons, but never with her daughter. and my child deserves better than this. You are the idiot. She has 3 kids. You have 2. She's a single mom, and you're a stay-at-home mom. Yes, there are a few differences between you, and she shouldn't have started yelling, but telling her kid to eat what the school offers doesn't make her a crappy mom. OP, I don't even have kids, and I think you sound ridiculous. The kid is old enough to make her own lunch, and it would be best for everyone if she learned how now. She's only a few years away from being an adult, and it would be good for her to have some life skills. A good parent teaches their kid how to deal with things in the real world. They don't just do everything for them. It takes a heck of a lot of gall to tell a child's actual mom, who's fully involved in her life, that you're a better mom to her child than she is. This is not how you respectfully co-parent. OP, instead, you escalated a situation that didn't require your intervention in the first place. And likely, your stepdaughter will be the one who suffers when the adults in her life act like unruly children. Do better for the sake of your stepdaughter. People, you are crazy. She is not a single mom. She is single and also a mother. A single mom is someone whose child's father is not in the picture. This child's father clearly is. Saying she has 3 children, so it's harder. OP has already claimed that they're older than the girl, meaning teenagers, so they're at school all day and presumably have friends and after-school activities. Don't get me wrong, she's a young teen and can make her own lunches for school, but it seems to me from the post for the child, it's more about the time spent together making the lunches than the actual lunch itself. This thread is just full of bitter so-called single mothers who hate seeing a step-parent do better than them. My 26 male sister, 23, has 4 kids in her care, 2 male kindergartners, a tween female, and a male toddler. All of them are her foster children. She got a job promotion recently and now has longer work hours, so after they leave preschool and elementary school, I've been picking them up. I get along with them fine, but I don't like kids in general. My family always asks me to look after the kids when they can't, because I get to pick my own work hours. About a week ago, my sister wanted me to take her children to school because she had to work early, and I refused. I didn't have much of a reason to, but I wanted to relax and not have to be around them. She got very upset and started crying because I wouldn't do her job as a guardian. I told her that she chose to foster those kids, and she knew what she was getting into. My parents are also upset about my choice to stop valeting her kids around and have called me selfish. She said she's paying me by letting me live in her house, but I help with rent, so it doesn't count. Am I the idiot? Wait, so you mentioned you live in her home. How much in rent are you paying? It obviously does count to her for some reason. Why? Do you pay for the gas, electric, cable, grocery, etc.? Or just chip in on a rent to her? And the bigger question is, why are you living with her? And for how long? Did she have any of those or previous foster kids before you moved in? And what rules or expectations did she have for you? It's not that important. I live with her because I don't make much money, and she offered. It's a very short time anyways. I pay what I can. She should help me out because she has enough money to. I'm paying for my necessities, and I help her with rent. My sister makes a ridiculous amount of money for her age. She can afford to help me out. It's unfair to say that I'm making no money. I do make money, just not enough to afford my own place. Do you have something against people needing extra help with living situations? So, OP is 26 years old and mooching off of his younger sister, paying rent when he can, which likely means nada. Can't help with the kids because he doesn't feel like it. Probably spends the majority of his time smoking weed and playing video games. Get a job where you can support yourself and move out. What an entitled, selfish loser. You are the idiot. OMG, he's actually freeloading off of his sister. He's not much help money-wise, living in her home, and can't be bothered to help her out either. Also, what kind of idiot moves into a house with 4 kids when they don't really like kids? That's like hating rain and moving to Colombia. a country with the most rainfall per year in the world. He's the 5th foster child. She also took in OP. He's living in her home and she's helping him. Dude, no, you're not the idiot for not wanting to be around children. I get that 100%. However, you don't get to mooch off your sister, knowing she cares for a bunch of children, and then complain about being asked to actually do her a favor. You sound entitled and selfish, and that's why you are the idiot.